we've got the little Hyundai Getz in, Yazz's Getz. So there's a few things wrong with it. One of the things was the coil plug, so the harness to the coil was crooked, so that kept on falling off, and she was only running on 2 cylinders. That's also caused more dramas then with overheating. And we've got fuel in the oil because there was the fuel injectors were still firing and there was nowhere for the fuel to go. So we're doing an oil change, we're doing a cooling system flush, which I'm doing at the moment. But there's also other things, like there's an exhaust leak. Originally I thought it was just going to be a gasket, but it turns out it's actually the flexible bellows. So we've got a new flexible bellows, we'll replace that today, so that's what this video will be about. But also we've just got on there a bit of video regarding the vibration, so the car at idle, and especially when it's in drive, starts to labour and it idles really roughly. So that's actually caused by a crook engine mount. So I've done a bit of a demonstration there, which will be later on the video, at line. So basically with that, pull the handbrake up hard, hold your foot on the brake and on the accelerator in drive or reverse, depending on the type of motor and type of engine mount you're trying to test. And then yeah, you can see the flex in the engine mounts. There should be a little bit of flex, obviously, they're rubber mounted. However, this one's particularly bad. It's flogged out on the engine side, so that needs to be replaced. Anyway, the core video for this one is just the exhaust repair, so I'll start showing you what's going on with pulling the exhaust off and where the issue is. There's a bit of a vibration to the engine. The camera doesn't really do it justice. You can see all the water moving on the top here. A bit of pulsing, so the engine's not missing. The root cause is okay, to remove this exhaust, so we've got our expansion bellows there, that's cactus. So we've got 2 17mm bolts here, and then there's a bracket on this side here, which is a 17mm bolt as well. So that needs to come off, these two need to come off, and then that's the front undone. Now back here, we've got this coupler. It's like a V-band clamp. So we can undo that and then pull the exhaust back off these rubber mounts. Okay, so pretty simple. I don't know what size that V-band is. Could be 17, I'll let you know in a sec. Yep, that's a 17 too. So pretty simple, 17 socket. Again, using our trusty Just Fit eBay special Makita ripoff. So there is a gasket up here. I've replaced that gasket recently because I thought that was what the problem was. I did have a fault, but anyway. All right, well, yeah, I'll put the phone down so I don't get drop this on my head, and it's pretty simple. You don't need to see me take bolts out, nuts off. Okay, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this, but that noise is the bellows inside it that have split. You can see it shouldn't pull apart and stretch. Anyway, here's our new one. If you have a look inside, you'll see there's like a ribbed bellows. Yeah, so that's able to move that way, but it shouldn't flex that way. Yeah. So basically, we just need to cut it and weld it. Not a huge job. Only thing is that we've got to watch these bends. So we'll set this up here, This will come up to here. Okay, this is made to sleeve over this existing pipe, so we can cut it off back here, and then we can cut this one off at that weld. Okay, this end here, we've got a bend right at that point. Okay, so where we cut it off at this weld, we'll have to cut this down as well. All right, so it's not going to sleeve over very much. It's only going to sleeve over 5 mil, best part of a 1/4 of an inch. All right, now the other thing we need to keep in mind is that the shape of the pipe. Yeah, so we can use this the join in the pipe as one reference, and then in line with that we can do another reference mark over here, so that we know that if we've got this lined up and this lined up and it's straight through, then we've got the right angle. Okay, so you can do it on the side, you can do another reference mark up here if you wanted to. So I'm going to use a paint pen for that, and considering I'm drawing over it with black texture, and that'll give us our straight point. So I'll set up in the middle here. I'll draw a line down here and through here. If you wanted to, you could use a laser. You could set a laser up and run the laser over it, so you can get a very defined points. If this isn't lined up properly, then that's going to create a torque retention on this, or actually on the whole thing. But yeah, this is our biggest fail point. So we need to make sure that's right. All right. So I'm going to mark this up. I'll quickly show you then, and then I'm going to cut it up. So pretty simple, just use that off cut of 20x20, 3/4x3/4. Just use that as a plumb from the middle of my exhaust flange here, and made sure that I was in the center of this pipe this way, in the center of this pipe this way. All right, so very, very simple. Now we'll get to cutting it apart and get it all set up. Okay, so one thing I didn't mention before, I sort of alluded to it, but I didn't really specifically say. We need this to be the exact same length, yeah? So that was already there, this was already here. Now, if that length isn't identical, then obviously from the flange to the V-band clamps, not going to work. Okay, so once again I said we can't have pressure on this that way anyway. All right, so there's a multitude of different ways and options of doing this. One way you can do is work out where you want this to sit, and mark and do your cuts on the expansions as well. So on this we're not actually going to need it. So what I've done here is I've marked with this lined up here. So that's going to be the tip there, yeah? Now I've marked on here, this point, that's going to be this piece here. So I could use that as a reference on top to make sure I've got the right length. Obviously I can't see that once the pipe's over it. So this gives me a reference as to where this should be sitting inside. Okay, and then I could use that to transfer a measurement up here. So you can see here I've got another mark there, which is in line with the end of the old bellows. And then I can transfer that onto this side, so that here, that point there is where that will line up, and the inside there, that mark there is the inside pipe. Okay, so then it's just a matter of slipping them together like so, welding it together. So obviously our mark stops here. We need to continue the mark at least on that one side Okay, so make sure that this lines up with that once it's all back together and welded together. Right, now we need to clean all this up so that it'll actually weld properly without all the rust and everything. So what I've done is I've just scored it here with the grinder, and the same on the other side, so that once it's all clean, at least I've got a mark to go off, because obviously my paint is going to disappear. Alright, so wire brush on the grinder. See the mark's still there, so at least now I know where I'm going to line it up. Alright, so I'll get this other one cleaned up and start welding it up. Alright, so we've got a MIG. Just going to tack it in a few spots first so I can get it right. Okay, that's our mark. So from here what we can do is just put another couple of tacks on, and then we'll refit it to the car, make sure everything lines up, and then if that's right, then we'll just go through and weld all that through. Okay, so we've got it all welded up. Both sides. And I just plugged one side with my hand and filled it up with water, make sure there was no leaks. So, because the whole point is so that we don't have an exhaust leak anymore, so not much point in doing something and creating more dramas. Anyway, so yeah, we've got no leaks, we'll just refit it. Refitting's just a reverse. Obviously the two nuts, the bolt for the bracket, the two rubber hangers, mounts, and then the V-band clamp at the back there. So we'll get that done and sort of start it back up. Alright, so just get those mounts on. We'll get the dump pipe side on. Right, so these should just slip through pretty easily. Other side up here. I've got started, so I'm just going to nip them up with the gun. Don't over tighten these because they do have a tendency to snap. They're exposed to a lot of heat, so expansion and contraction. See if I can get you back in that position and right, so then this is just basically push it together, and this whole exhaust moves at the back. So we'll get this pushed up and the clamp on. It'll come from a different angle. To distort this clamp a bit, try to get it off. So That's it. Job done. Let's fire it up. That is, I thought so, until I found this crack on the bottom of the catalytic converter. So obviously this needed to be addressed. It's quite a decent crack. Additionally, I also went through and cleaned the V-band clamp junction, because that was pretty pitted and rusty, and it had a small exhaust leak there after I reassembled it too. So now it's all good.